Well, good morning, church. So things look a little bit different today. I'm not actually preaching, or at least that's not the plan, but it could happen. We'll see. Am I making weird noise here? Let me fix this. Is that better? Good, great. Okay. So, this morning we are going to look back on 2020. Some of you shudder at that thought because it was 2020. And it was full of a lot of things that were very disheartening. It was full of a lot of things that were painful. It was full of a lot of things that were discouraging. It was full of a lot of things that we never expected, couldn't have expected, and even when they did happen, it didn't look like what we may have expected. So it was kind of a mess. Repeatedly, I referred to 2020 as a dumpster fire. I think here in the last weekend of the year, we would agree that at least for part of the year, 2020 was a dumpster fire. So, I want to take you first to a scripture. And it's not going to be on the screen today, but we're going to look at Psalm 143. And we're specifically going to look at verses 5 and 6. So Psalm 143, verse 5 and 6 say this: I remember the days of old. I meditate on all that you have done. I ponder the work of your hands. I stretch out my hands to you. My soul thirsts for you like a parched land. And so we have just a couple of verses there that are praise and thanks and meditation on the goodness of God and the provision of God. If you read the rest of that psalm, though, before and after, there's a whole lot of lament in there. That was written in the midst of a whole lot of discouragement, of a whole lot of things that really kind of broke the writer. And yet in the midst of all of that, he looks to God in his faithfulness and says, despite all these things, I'm going to remember you. I'm going to remember what you've done. I'm going to remember how good you are. I'm going to remember your goodness to me. And so he's kind of preaching to himself. And so today, we're going to let some of the testimonies and the high points of 2020 preach to us. Even though we lived through them, some of them were things that we ourselves did. And so anytime today when you hear us say, we did, I did, they did, you did, whatever, yes, we were the instruments that God used to do it. But at the foundation of it all, God did it. And so that's what we're celebrating today. So, 2020, it was a year that really felt like a lot of things were against us. Yeah? The thing that never changed, though, is that God was still for us. Always. Never leaving or forsaking. And so I want to take you through some of the high points of the year. Now, it would be impossible to hit everything that happened in 2020 in one Sunday service. So if there's something that you cling to as an incredible memory or high point of the year, and we don't mention it today, that doesn't mean it didn't matter. It just didn't make it into this service. Because God did so much, we could spend a week just talking about his goodness throughout this last year. We have about the next 30 to 45 minutes. So, right out of the gate at the beginning of 2020, through our vision offering, we saw our mortgage debt reduced by almost $10,000. That was in addition to regular payments. And so in 2021, in January, in just a few weeks, we're going to take up our 2021 vision offering. And so I want to encourage you to start praying now about how God would lead you to give towards the vision offering next year. Because remember, our goal, our vision, what God has set before us, and I believe put in our hearts, is to be mortgage-free by the end of 2025. So we still have a long way to go. We still have about $180,000 to get rid of in mortgage debt. But this didn't all happen this year, but we have $180,000 when not too terribly long ago, we had over like $2 million of mortgage-related debt. So God has been faithful all along. There's no reason to doubt that he would not continue to be faithful. And when we're free of that mortgage debt, it frees us up to be able to invest more and more and more into other areas of ministry. And we can get our finances out of keeping the facility and into making much of the kingdom of God. So that was right in January. And then it was not long after that that the pandemic reached Middle Tennessee. And we had to learn new ways of doing ministry. We had to learn new ways of being the church. And so for the first time, for an extended period of time, Sunday worship was entirely online. But then so was kids' church, and so was Wednesday night Bible study, and so was our Passover Seder, and even into July, so was our VBS. A lot of things that were never digital before suddenly became digital, and we really started reaching people in new ways, and people that have never come through the doors of this church. And so while it was difficult for all of us to not physically be together, God was increasing his kingdom behind the scenes where many of us couldn't even see it happening. And so he was faithful in that. And then in the pinnacle, really, of that kind of outreach that we had going on was Easter Sunday. And on Easter Sunday, we had 2 drive-in services. We streamed both of those online, and we broadcast both of them live on the radio. And on that one Sunday alone, through LifeSong Family Church, we worshiped with and God reached over 1,000 people on a single Sunday. But so here's the thing, in the midst of this, church did not just happen online. It didn't just happen in this building. It didn't even just happen on Sundays. Because over the course of this year, we have had life groups, Sunday school classes, Bible studies, and more different groups find ways to meet digitally or in other alternative settings, something that was outside of the way things had always been done before. And so I know that not all of these people are here today, but those life groups, Sunday school classes, Bible studies, whether it was something official or just a private thing that you did with a small group of friends, if you took part in any of those things, whether it was online, in a home, somewhere else, or if you're online with us this morning and you were a part of those things. If you're here in the house, I just want you to stand for just a second. And if you're online, I want you to mash that like button like crazy. And this is just a small sampling. I know that as long as they got out of bed this morning and they're watching right now, there's like buttons being smashed like crazy. Because church became way more than just Sunday morning. And it was new, and it was fresh, and it was different. And even in the midst of discouragement, God was teaching us things and showing us things. And so, like I said, we can't possibly cover everything that God did in 2020. But I want to hit some of these high points, and I want to hear from some of the people who helped make these things happen or stewarded some of these things that God did. And so first off, can we just take a minute and be excited that the dreadlock hero is in the house again today? If you happen to be with us for the first time or for the first time since the beginning of the pandemic, Lane, who is the dreadlock hero, he was our interim worship leader for a little over a year. And he was such a huge blessing to us. You were such a huge blessing to me during that season because it meant I didn't have to do both of those jobs, which was amazing. But we appreciate you so much, man, and we're glad that how we started the year is how we get to end the year. So it's so good to have you back with us. Now, of course, this is a different face than what you've been seeing or who you've been seeing lead us in worship for the last couple of months now, because God opened the door for Grayson and his lovely bride, Annalisa, to join our church family and for Grayson to become our worship pastor. They could not be here today because they are traveling, visiting family for Christmas. But we do have just a very quick, and I mean very quick, word from Grayson and Annalisa to share with you today. So if you turn your attention to the screen.
Good morning, LifeSong. We're so sad that we can't be there in person with you this morning, but we are so excited to be part of this church and part of this family. And we are looking forward to everything that God's doing here at this church, and we can't wait to be a part of that. See you soon.
I told you it was brief. So that's Grayson and Anna. They will be back with us next Sunday. And we're looking forward to them being able to dig in even deeper to the ministry that God's called them to here at LifeSong in 2021. So I want to talk about just a few key areas of ministry and things that even when things were at the worst throughout this year, areas where we knew God said, don't stop. We knew God said, keep pushing, keep pressing. These are the things where I need to be present the most. And it's not about the Sunday morning experience. It's about what I'm doing outside of the four walls of this building and how I'm reaching people in the community that may never come through these doors. And so we're going to look at some of those things and how God has continued to work there. I don't want to talk about all this stuff by myself. And so the first area that I do want to talk about is our food bank. I put Laura and Lisa on notice that they may have to join me on stage today. And Laura made a grumpy face, but kind of said, okay. And Lisa peed a little, I think. So I'm not going to... Okay. So Lisa's going to get a reprieve today because we're going to save all of that anxiety for when... I should save this for next week, but I'm going to mention it now. We're going to save all of that anxiety for her for when she preaches on a Sunday in May. She's having a panic attack right now. But Laura, if you would join me up here. Laura is our administrator, and that word does not fully encompass all of the stuff that she finds herself doing throughout the course of a week. But she deals with so much behind the scene things. And, you'll need this. There you go. So, yeah, make her welcome. So, now you gave me all of the numbers and the details, and I'm not going to expect you to remember those. But can you, in brief, kind of explain the process of how those shelves get filled back there? In brief.
We partner with several different food banks that we, out of Nashville mostly, Feed the Children and Second Harvest. Through Second Harvest, we have the USDA program, which basically fills our freezers and our fridges and our shelves for no cost. It varies week to week, day to day, what we're available to get. But it has been really a very blessed year to be able to continue working through this. But we'll get a call from Feed the Children every once in a while. Hey, come get a truckload of who knows what. And we'll troop up to Laverne and get it. But Second Harvest is our biggest partner. But we also get community food banks or community food drives that donate to us. And just different resources that we'll donate every once in a while.
Yeah. And so I want to stop right there for just a second and acknowledge that Laura, Lisa, and I spearhead the day-to-day, the ordering, inventory, just making sure that everything is ready to go. But if it was just up to the three of us, there's no way that the food bank could do what it does and what God has done through it this year. And so especially when we had to make some adjustments to our operations in the midst of the early days of COVID, we called on any and everybody who was able to come and help and serve there. And so I'm gonna do this in two groups. If you volunteered at all this year at Seeds of Hope, would you stand just so that you can be acknowledged today? And there's more people too. We have people who come from the community, other churches, or no church at all, that are faithful volunteers. And he will never see this, I guarantee you. But there is one guy, his name is Eddie. And Eddie is here every Monday without fail when that truck comes from Second Harvest. And he is one of the most hardworking, dedicated people I have ever met and worked with in ministry. And so he'll never hear it, but give Eddie a hand because he is a huge blessing to us. So volunteers, and then here's the other thing. We have had several people or groups of people from within the church who have in one way or another spearheaded or put together a food drive. I know several people real recently did one of those like reverse advent calendar deals where you collect up food. And we had several kids that were a big part of that just dropped their food off just a week or two ago, I think real recently. So if you did that, if you spearheaded a food drive or collected food or anything like that for Seeds of Hope over the course of this past year at all, would you stand, please? And what you can't really see from the other side of the room is most of over here who stood up is like less than 4 feet tall. So they did awesome. Good job, kiddos. So we also had food drives hosted for us out in the community. Shoney's did a food drive for us, which was a huge blessing. Ascend Federal Credit Union did a food drive for us. Again, so appreciative and such a blessing. And all of that, even when it seems like little amounts, it adds up tremendously. But I want to talk about some of the numbers. And we have really great times because we say stuff when we're ordering like, we'll only get 20 cases of chicken. It's not. We discovered this past Monday that we temporarily misplaced 65 turkeys. It's kind of the weird stuff that happens when God does abundant things. And so here's some numbers, food bank by the numbers for you. Total pounds of food that we received just from Second Harvest in 2020. 140,298 pounds of food. And I'll bet you that at least 120,000 of that has already gone right back out the doors over the course of the year. So, as of December 15th, which was our last open day, and I'm lumping into here a couple of kind of Secret Santa type things we did to bless some people. So as of the end of the year, through Seeds of Hope, not counting the backpack ministry, we served over 5,000 people in Marshall County. And when you figure out how that breaks down into meals, this is a cool number. We gave away almost 117,000 meals this year. That does not include our Thanksgiving outreach. Our Thanksgiving outreach we did in 2 phases again this year, where we did the boxes that people could take home and make themselves. And then we also did the prepared meals that we put together here on Sunday morning. Now or Thursday morning. Now this was not our biggest our biggest year by far. And Thanksgiving outreach is kind of one of those things where if it went away, and we have talked about this as staff and volunteers, we would be sad because it's become a part of our tradition at Thanksgiving. However, if it went away, it would also mean that the need no longer existed. So it would be a very bittersweet thing. So anytime those numbers kind of go down, we get excited because we know needs are being met either in other ways or those needs just don't exist anymore. But this year, for the boxes that we gave away, we did 101 boxes. That represents 101 families that got Thanksgiving through our outreach. And then we did 180 prepared meals that went out the door on Thanksgiving morning. And so all of that together, just on Thanksgiving, we were able to serve 685 people here in Marshall County. So now I'm a firm believer that, and you can testify to this, when God provides us with something in the food bank ministry, we know that he's going to use it. We know he's going to send it out. We know he's going to bless people with it. Even the food like produce or bread or whatever that comes in and goes bad, that's like not good for people anymore, we have a relationship with a pig farmer who comes and gets that food and it feeds their livestock. So it goes out and it gets consumed. We don't ever throw away food unless it's just absolutely rancid, which does not happen usually. And so I'm giving away so much that I was going to talk about next week, but it'll be okay. There's lots to talk about. 101 boxes, that means 101 full turkeys, full-size turkeys, went out to people this year at Thanksgiving. God has already put us in a situation where we know that next year at Thanksgiving, we are giving away over 200 turkeys out into our community. We're excited, but also already exhausted at the thought of what that's probably going to look like. Can you, for anybody who's like, wow, this is pretty cool, I might want to get involved and somehow plug in, can you share the ways that people can get connected there and help serve? No, for the food bank.
We're always needing volunteers to come in and either help stock the shelves when we get our trucks in on Mondays. Usually it's around 11, 12 o'clock, somewhere in there. If we've had an order, we'll, from Second Harvest, they'll come in that morning. We also get what they call the produce truck. It's free produce, milk, dairy, bread, who knows what's going to be on it, that we can take and be able to give back to our community. We also have a schedule of the days that we're open, and we're always wanting to train more people and get more people involved so that they can come and help our neighbors and shop, whether you take them and help them be able to pick the stuff off the shelf, or you help load their vehicles with the groceries that they just received. Take the time to pray with them. Just take the time to get to know them. Some of them are there more than just food. They need that contact. We may be one of the only contacts they have much during that week or that month. They are lonely, some of them, and they look forward to seeing us because to us, they're family. They're not strangers or just people that come in.
That's right.
We have seen babies born. We have gone to funerals. We have seen weddings. We have seen everything with them. They are part of our family. Can I tell us about them?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. I really thought Joe was going to say this, but I'm hopefully I won't cry during this too.
Oh, I hope you do.
Oh, thank you. You can tell the kind of relationship we have. We have a family that when this lady first started coming, you kind of one of those people you don't know how to handle. You know, you don't know where they're coming from really. But as she's come through more and more, as that need in her family has been, she is raising a grandchild, her and her husband. She comes in and says, I want to give back to my community through y'all. She hands us a little bit of money, whatever she can do each month. She's crying. She says, it's not much. I can't do much. I can't do much. One month, it might have been $5. This time, it had to be $9. She comes in the next month, and we said, we want to let you know something. Your $9 gave over 20 people a Thanksgiving meal. 20 people off of $9. That's how we can utilize, or not us, God utilizes every penny that comes in. To her, it was $9. To us, that's a lot of food. So every penny does count. And to be able to go back to her and explain to her the blessing that she was able to give to her neighbors was our reward.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. 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 So I just want to say publicly, thank you for all that you do, not only to keep the food bank running, but for everything that happens around here. There's a lot of things people don't even realize, that if you weren't in there clicking buttons and making phone calls and, sometimes, screaming at people over the phone, happens. We're not going to talk about those stories. But if you weren't there doing what you do, there would be some huge holes around here. And so thank you for being used of God to do so much of what makes ministry happen here at LifeSong. Would you guys get up for Laura again? All right, so not all of the ministry that happens here at LifeSong actually happens here at LifeSong. You guys have heard us talk about this a lot, especially over the last few weeks with our giving tree. But one of the ministries that we partner with and we support on a regular basis is In His Image Pregnancy Resource Center. And so I did not want to finish out the year without hearing from Miss Shirley Lowe, who is the director of the Pregnancy Resource Center. Would you guys make her feel welcome this morning? She was sitting in the back, so it's a long journey to get here. But we regularly support the Pregnancy Resource Center through organizational or institutional tithing. And so as tithes come in, you can have a seat, Ms. Shirley. Thanks for being here this morning. So we regularly support the PRC as we collectively give each week a portion of everything that comes in each month, then goes out to help support the PRC. So I've got my notes that I promised I would try to stick to here on my phone. So let's just start with the basics then. For the people who don't know, can you tell us just a little bit about what the PRC does here in Lewisburg?
Yes, I could talk about the PRC for hours, so I hope that you all brought lunch, But one of the first things that all pregnancy centers do is give out free pregnancy tests. And we not only do that, but we also take the time to give our clients options. And this would be for both negative and positive results. So we're there to kind of guide them in their the things that could happen, whether it's positive or negative. The other thing another thing that we're very well known for is a beautiful baby boutique that is filled with maternity and baby items that are everything a child will need from birth to about 3T. So if a girl comes in for a pregnancy test and she says, I can't afford a baby, we can take her to the baby boutique and show her, yes, you can. It's not, about that, because we can help her there. And so these items are available through donations from churches and individuals. But when we do our classes, and this would be like prenatal and parenting classes, when we give those classes, our clients earn points, and these points are used just like money in the baby boutique. So when someone comes through our doors, they never have to bring their billfold. Another thing that we do is an abstinence program that we take to the schools, and this is for 7th and 8th graders, and our own Pastor Joe is the team leader for the boys, and Melinda Martin is the team leader for the girls. And I'm so grateful to the Marshall County School System for allowing us to do this. But not only did they allow us to do it, they paid for the curriculum. So we have a good school system. Another thing that we do is recently there was a need that we began to realize when someone loses a child through miscarriage or stillbirth or during the first year of their life, of the baby's life, that the parents grieve a different type of grief than in other situations. And so we have developed a program that will help them to deal with that grief in a very personal way. And of course, there are people who make the decision to have abortion, and we know that God forgives everything. If we just sincerely ask for forgiveness, He will forgive us. But sometimes these ladies and the men who were involved, they have a hard time forgiving themselves when they realize what they've really done. So we have a program for that too, and this will help them to release that child to God and to start living the kind of life that God had planned for them. And can I talk about ultrasound?
You can. Let me interject,
Okay.
and then we'll get there. So this year, it was a very big deal that you were able to not only offer ultrasound, but upgrade and all of those kinds of things. So tell us about the ultrasound and the facilities and all of the good stuff that goes with that.
Okay. For years, I wanted an ultrasound for the PRC, and my board wanted it, and it just seemed like that we were hitting roadblocks all the time. So I want you to think about your own life right now, and if you are trying to, push into a direction that maybe you're not ready for, breathe, because God did a marvelous thing for us. We had a used ultrasound machine we never were able to use it. And so I told my board, I said, well, if we can't use it, I want it out of here. So it wasn't long after that machine left the building that Knights of Columbus came along, and they said, we'll match everything, we'll match all the money, up, no limit, for the kind of ultrasound that you need, the machine. Well, God did a wonderful thing. All over Marshall County and then outside of our county also, money started coming in. I mean, I didn't know these people, a lot of them. And so now in our facility, we have a brand new 4D full color machine with Doppler so they can hear the heartbeat better. Is that amazing?
And well, now you have to tell them about the staff that you were
Okay.
finally able to get.
All right. I've been with the Pregnancy Center since 2008, and so during this time that we were struggling to try to get the ultrasound machine, I had talked to doctors and nurses to, get them to come on. Well, whenever all of this started happening, Dr. Allison Tucker, who is a doctor in Cornersville, she was so excited about joining us. It wasn't someone I had to beg. Yes, I want to do this. Then God sent an ultrasound, or two nurses that wanted to actually take the course so they could become a technician to give the ultrasounds. And they also sent me a nurse manager from down in Lincoln County, so that now we have a doctor, our medical director, and we have a nurse manager and two RNs that can do this. Can I talk about the rooms just a minute?
Yes, yeah, absolutely.
Okay. All right. We are in an old building. I don't know if all of you know where we are at, but we're on the corner of West Commerce and 3rd Avenue North. And the building is old, but it suits us perfectly. I mean, the way it's laid out is perfect. But it kind of looked like an old building, on the inside. And so there was a church that came in, and they wanted to upgrade our ultrasound suite. So now it's kind of like a spa experience. And the girls who come in there, they may be in distress, but it's a pleasant surrounding. So that was a wonderful thing.
It was. I've seen it, and it's gorgeous. Yeah. So there's not just like you don't have to be a medical professional though to volunteer at the pregnancy center.
Oh no.
I know we have folks in our church family that are there on a regular basis helping volunteer, and you've
Yes.
got people from all over the community. So if the PRC is somewhere that people really feel pulled to, and like God's leading them to get involved there, what kind of opportunities are available for people to volunteer at the Pregnancy Resource Center?
Okay, we're open 3 times a week for 3-hour segments. And during that time, we need a counselor or a coach, a life coach. Also, we need a receptionist and a baby boutique worker. So no one was any less prepared than I was whenever I started doing this. So if you think that you can't do this, you can. If God calls you to this, you will be amazed. And our volunteer family, they're close and they do such a marvelous work. So yes, if you want to come down, we'll train you to be the receptionist. We'll train you to be the baby boutique worker. If you want to be a counselor, it's a 32-hour course, but we give it right there at the office, and it's no charge to you. So that's available. Right now, I'm needing someone to do cleaning. I'd like to have a couple that would come in and clean on a day that we're not there. Because it's a busy place and a lot of people are in and out the doors. So, we could use a little help there. Another thing I would like to have is a person who would be my floater, and this person would be able to be a receptionist or a baby boutique worker, because occasionally things happen and on short notice we can get someone who maybe is sick or whatever and they can't keep their commitment. So that's what I would really, really, really like to have as a floater also.
And if you really want to get in the trenches and be a part of the abstinence team,
Yes.
if anybody was not prepared for what they were getting involved in. But I have a great time. We spend a few days a year talking to 7th and 8th grade boys about abstinence, and it's really, they have nothing to say. So. But it is good, and it is a fantastic opportunity to reach into our community and to reach out through the PRC. I know that you right now are reaching how many clients?
Well, now our client base changes because these girls, for some reason, they don't need us any longer or whatever. But so right now I would think about 20 currently. We have had over 25 scans on the ultrasound, so it's a lot of activity going on.
Yeah, and then so you're at 20 right now, but at full capacity, you could.
Oh, 45. We could easily see 45 clients a week, and we're not even close to that. So what I would love for you all to do is, if you know, and please don't just think that this is for someone who, they don't have money. It's not just for that. Our classes are amazing, and they will teach the girls and the guys too things about taking care of that child that even their mom probably wouldn't know. So it is a really good program there.
Absolutely. So, Ms. Shirley, I just want to thank you for your dedication, not only to the PRC, but to our church. You're not just here to talk about the PRC. This is your home church, and we're so glad to have you as a part of our family. But I'm excited to be able to continue to come alongside you in 2021 and just see how God continues to grow what's happening at the PRC.
I'm going to tell you, this church, my church, supports us in so many ways. I mean, Joe sometimes brings food down there, snacks for the kids, boxes and boxes of snacks for the children, the Christmas tree. There's so many things that this church does, but I also want you to know that monthly check that that the church gives us, it's helped us to purchase our building. So we're probably, let's see, 2 years into a 7-year mortgage. So in about 5 years, about the same time, we should be debt free. And you might think, well, it's a nonprofit. Why do you want to own the building? Well, believe it or not, I'm not going to be here forever. And the thing about it is, I want, as we pass on or whatever, I want there to always be a place for these girls to come, because the problem is always going to be there.
That's right. That's right. Miss Shirley, thank you for sharing with us this morning. Thank you for the work that you do and for just letting God use you in so many powerful ways.
Thank you.
Right. We love you. Would you give it up for Miss Shirley one more time? So as we kind of navigated the weirdness of 2020, we had to make decisions about what's safe and what maybe might not be safe, but is still going to be absolutely necessary, and all of these kinds of things. And we've heard the term essential workers or frontline workers and all those kinds of things. And back in May, we did a little thing where we honored some of those people. And of course, there's so many, it's hard to catch them all. But over the course of this year, we have had the opportunity to reach out and minister to people in ways that we never thought that we would. And just in the last few weeks, under the radar, and I only share it this morning because I feel like it's important for you to know what happens when we're just kind of trying to be the hands and feet of Jesus without making a big deal of it. And so over the last few weeks, we've actually been able to send some gifts and bless some true frontline healthcare workers at one of our local hospitals. We were able to contribute to gift bags that went into a bunch of local nursing homes. It was over 100, almost 130 senior adults that received those gift bags. And several other things where we were able to give to families in need, last-minute angel tree situations, all different kinds of stuff like that. And so God opened some really cool doors for us to be able to minister. But one of the things early on this year where it was evident that we needed to really hunker down, stay dug in, and keep the wheels moving on was in a ministry that just this year celebrated 1 year of being a part of LifeSong. Many of you know what it is. I'm not going to talk a lot about it because I'm going to let Star talk about it as she comes to talk about unshackled recovery this morning. Now, I tried to send her the questions in advance, but she has AT&T. So this will be fun.
Yes. Step of faith.
All right. So, like I said, we committed that we were not going to stop unshackled meetings, which at the time I don't even think was unshackled at the beginning of the year. It was something else. But we committed to that because we understand, and you have helped me understand, the importance of consistency and maintaining not only consistency but availability of the type of meetings that you offer, especially for those that are in the thick of dealing with some of the issues. So Unshackled is a recovery ministry. But people a lot of times misunderstand what that means. So can you tell us who Unshackled is for?
Yes, I can. So Unshackled is for everybody. And so you say recovery.
Just say that one more time.
Unshackled is for everybody.
One more, just so we drive that point home.
It is for everybody.
Yes.
And you say recovery, so in the world it's for recovery. But as Christians, it's called transformation. Because by his word we're transformed. And the difference between unshackled recovery and like NA or AA is because they do steps. And unshackled recovery is based on biblical Bible verses. And God does it. He intervenes. And for everybody, because we all have a sinful nature. And they overcome it by the intervening of God and because we pray for them. And So everybody needs it. Everybody, all of y'all.
I will agree with that statement. And so it is for everybody, open to anybody, any kind of those hurts, habits, hang-ups, all of the rough stuff of life that weighs us down. But this year, there was a huge opportunity that came in specifically dealing with the area of substance abuse and addiction. So can you tell us a little bit about the doors that God opened up with the Marshall County Drug Court program?
Yeah, so I'm very super excited about this. As y'all know, I've been into the penal institution many times, and they have they have no kind of reforming, constructing any kind of services here in Marshall County at all. And so for the drug court to open up, they started talking about it last year. We got the grant approved in January, and it got finalized in April and was opened by June. And so we partnershiped with the court system, with Judge Bizark and Miss Linda and all the probation officers, and we mentor, sponsor, depending if you're worldly or Christian, the 12 people. We get 12 people a year to walk with them through life, to show them the right way instead of the wrong way. And even if they fail a drug test or they mess up, instead of just throwing them back in jail, we try to figure out a solution with them to see what the root of the problem is, and then just to be there to walk through life with them.
Yeah.
And it's very important, and it takes a lot of people.
Absolutely, and we have had some really hard conversations.
Yes, we have.
And we won't go into details here in front of everybody and online and the millions of people who are currently watching.
Thanks.
You're welcome. Yeah.
That's when I have my glasses on. So I'm like, I can't see. I'll be good. It's just me and you.
Yeah. But we've talked about the hard stuff when somebody who you've invested so much in stumbles or falls or fails or even walks away. And so it's, Unshackled is for everybody, but I absolutely believe that it takes a special calling, a special anointing, a special person to stand at the forefront of that ministry and do what you do.
Well, God does it, and I've been blessed because we have people in our church that helps me with it because it's very, very, very heavy. And so can I ask them to stand?
Yeah, that's
Is
fine.
that good? Because
Yep.
I love them so much. So can my Celebrate Recovery ladies, my man's not here, please stand up because without them, there's no way. There's no way I could
Yeah.
do it.
All right, so there's hard stuff, there's tough stuff, but do you have permission to share this with us?
I did. I asked. I got
Awesome.
permission.
So I know that this year has brought a tremendous success story, a beautiful testimony of how God has changed lives. So can you briefly share that story with us?
So yes, I can. So, and with it saying that it was heavy, so there's been times in this ministry where a lot of people have slipped. I will not say relapsed, but they slipped. And it was to the point where I was just like, you know what, why am I doing this, God? I don't understand. And at that same time when I was going through that, one of our girls, I have 8 girls. I have 4 in rehab. I have one that's in a rehab with her baby for 18 months. But I also have one that's here, and God moved her into my apartment complex. She's 5 months clean. She just had a beautiful baby girl. And can I share what she sent me? Because when I got this text, this is why. If it was just her, this is the completely only reason why. And God. I'm sorry. Hold on.
You're okay.
Okay.
This is good enough to wait for.
So I will not share her name with you, though. But as she was having her baby, this is what she said. She said, living sober is absolutely amazing, and I feel better than I have in years, and I feel like I can finally become something. Sorry. And God is my Savior. I live through Him every day, and it is just an amazing life. For that right there, if y'all know her, and some of you do, to professed that God was her Savior and that she's living sober and that she could never imagine that. That right there in her little baby's life is, we're breaking a curse, a traditional family curse that because her whole family is just in the midst of, the world, and she sees it, and that baby sees it, and it's very important for us to walk with them every single day. And when you do, sometimes God will let you see the plants start to grow from the seeds that you water.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So I've asked everybody else to talk about how people can get connected and volunteer. I know you have lots of ways. You need people who can write letters, lots of opportunities that people can get connected and help, not just face-to-face with Unshackled, but there's a lot of things there. I want to encourage you, if that's something that you're drawn to catch her today before she leaves here and find out how you can connect and help with what she needs. But what I want you to tell us is for people who need, and it's everybody, for people who need that kind of connection and community and are looking to make a change and experience real lasting change in their life, when can they connect with you? Where? How? That good stuff.
So connect with me here because I'm 24/7. I don't
When
ever
are your
stop.
meetings?
Okay, so we have meetings on Friday nights here at the church at 6 p.m. They are open discussion meetings. Sometimes we do a study. I also open the door because we have a Bible study here. And NA and AA do book studies. Our book study is the Bible. So the Bible study we do here on Mondays is at 5. And I just recently talked to Renee. We're going to be starting a Saturday service around 2, 3 o'clock. Or not service, but step study.
All right. Good deal. So Fridays at 6 for your regular meetings. Step studies coming on Saturdays at, tell me again, 3?
3.
3.
I was like,
Saturdays at 3, step studies. All right. And then 5 o'clock.
On Mondays for the Bible study. That's the important one.
Yes.
That's the most important one.
Awesome. 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 Star, thank you.
So can I share one more thing just really quick?
You
since
can.
I'm up
Yes.
here?
Yeah.
Okay, so I just want to share this because, and I didn't ask her, but so one of my friends very close to me last night was talking about how she had a vision and there was a bit in her mouth. And the devil was kind of leading her, or the world was kind of leading her around for a bit. And so last night when I was praying about her, God showed me that Christians, we have issues. We all have issues. We follow God daily.
Sure.
But a lot of us have blinders on. And it's good to have a blinder on if you're just focused on God. But when you're in a church and you're supposed to be a part of Jesus, you need to let the blinders be on Jesus, but really listen to him, to see the things that's in our church that's going on with our people, to notice them, to be able to help them. Even if it's just sitting down and listening to them, or picking up the phone and talking to them, or just being there for them. And so it's very important for me to share with you guys how important it is for fellowship with not only us as believers, but with the outside world too. I just needed to share that. I don't even know why.
Absolutely. That's good. That's a good word. That's a good word. Star, thank you for sharing with us this
Thank you.
morning.
I'm so nervous.
Thank you for doing what you do and letting God use you in such a powerful way. All right, I can't wait to see what comes next.
Thanks.
All right, give it up for Star. Church, this stuff that we've talked about this morning is barely the tip of the iceberg when it comes to what God has done throughout the last year. And I'm going to invite the worship team to start to make your way back up here as we get ready to close things out today. But church, here's what I want to encourage you. It is easy and has been easy to look back, and even in the midst of it, to look at 2020 and think how terrible and awful and what a waste and what a loss and all of the things that we could label 2020 as being. The truth is, God does not look at 2020 that way in the least. These stories and so many more are evidence of the fact that he is faithful. He continues to move, to work, to breathe life into people, to change people's lives, and to use LifeSong Family Church to accomplish his kingdom purposes right here in Lewisburg, right here in Marshall County, right here in Tennessee, and in the far-flung reaches where we have no idea how we have reached people through our media ministry and all the other things. 2020, to us, feels like a major interruption. But on God's timeline, it was just one more step to get us all where he needs us to be and to bring us in line with exactly what he has called us to. And so we have looked on 2020, oftentimes with eyes of fear, oftentimes with doubt, oftentimes with tremendous uncertainty about what's going to come next and how God could redeem any of these things that have taken place in our lives and in our world. But so as we finish up 2020, I want to encourage you to go back just to those few verses of Psalm 143, 5, and 6, and look at how in the midst of so much pain and turmoil and hurt and discouragement, I'm going to remember that God is faithful. There's a concept in the Old Testament called an Ebenezer. It means stone of remembrance. And they would set up an Ebenezer after God led them through something, across a river, through a battle, through whatever it might have been that was difficult and heavy and burdensome. They would set up a monument and say, here is where we remember that God has delivered us through the fire, through the flood, through the difficulties of life. Here is where we remember that up to this point of our life, even through everything that we've walked through, God has been faithful. And then when we look at this, we're not reminded of the struggle. We're not reminded of the difficulty. We're not reminded of the hurt and of the pain. We are reminded that God was faithful through it all. And if he can be faithful through 2020, God can be faithful through anything that comes our way. And at the very end of it all, at the back of the book, we know who has the victory. We know who holds the future. And when we know and trust in him, we know our eternal destination. And so for all of the brokenness, for all of the heartache, we're just going to set that aside. It still existed. It's not gone. It's not like it didn't happen. But if we can just allow block out all that stuff and focus on the one who has brought us through it and all that he has done in the midst of it, then we get to let go of fear. Then we get to let go of worry. Then we get to let go of burdens that were never ours to carry in the first place. And we get to start truly living as men and women of God, as brothers and sisters in Christ, as children of the Most High God. And so as we worship together one last time, as we close out this year together, would you stand to your feet? I want to pray with you and over you. And then we are going to sing like we have never sung before this year, because he is so good. So God, we thank you for all that you have done throughout 2020. God, we confess that there have been moments when we have been less than our best, when we have doubted, when we have retreated, when we should not, when we have just turned our eyes away from the truth of who you were and focused on the conditions and circumstances of the world. And God, for all of that, we ask that you would just forgive us like you so readily do. God, we just want to come to you today, and as we turn from those things that weighed us down in 2020 and turn to focus on all that you've done and all that you have yet to do. God, we ask that you would help us to set up in our minds these monuments of remembrance. That when things looked the darkest, God, you were still about the business of feeding the hungry. When hope seemed lost, you were still about the kingdom business of mending hearts and lives of new and unexpected parents. God, that even in the midst of so much disconnection and disorder in our world, you were still about the kingdom business of breaking the chains and the bondage of addiction and destructive behaviors to breathe new life spiritually and new physical life. God, it is undeniable today as we stand here at the edge of a brand new calendar year that you have been faithful. You have been good. You have shown your power and your might and your provision in so many ways. So God, together we declare that 2021 will not be a year driven by doubt or by fear. We will no longer be enslaved to those things that would hold us back from who you call us to be. But that we would run headlong as fast as we can, arms wide open, into your embrace and the truth of who you say we are. So God, we praise you today for all that you have done, for all that you have provided, for all that you have shown us that you are and can do. And not just because you've already done it, but because it's a testament to who you remain, who you will always be, and what you can always do. So we lift our voices, our hands, however we praise today, we lift it up to you. God, may you guide, guard, protect, and lead each one as you speak life and hope and truth, fresh revelation, and breathe new life into us. That we might be changed and that we might glorify you with every breath we take, everything we do, every word we say. We praise you today. Give you all of the glory and honor as we worship you together. In Jesus' name. Hey, I hope that you've been blessed by this word, encouraged or challenged in some kind of way. If you are joining us for the first time, remember that the experience does not end here. I want to invite you to visit lifesongfamily.org/connect and fill out that digital connect card so we can get to know you better and find out how we can serve you and your family better here at LifeSong Family Church. Of course, be sure to like and follow us on Facebook. You can find us on Instagram and Twitter as well, so you can keep up with everything that is happening here at LifeSong Family Church. And as always, as you are able, we invite you to join us in person right here in Lewisburg, Tennessee. We can't wait to see you.